I'm Xiuling. I will take a very short few minutes just to introduce myself and the company before we enter into a very exciting innovation pitch sessions. So Nurasa is not a new name to many of you. It's actually also kind of like a startup, but we are nearly about 3 years, 100% owned by Temasek, the Singapore government-backed investor, with the only single one objective: accelerate the sustainable food innovation for Asia Pacific. And of course, Australia is a very important part of our partner in terms of how we help the companies from Australia have the ambition for international expansion and also use the ecosystem in Singapore to accelerate their commercialization. In a very short description of what Nurasa do, so we literally just an enabler. Enable in terms of offer the infrastructures, such as precision fermentation. If you just come from the other room, we have up to 10,000 liters already in the operations, and the Singapore Food Agency approved facility in Singapore. So from like 1 liter, 2 liter, 10, 100 to 10,000. And then we also have the high moisture extrusion technology through our joint partnership with A-Star to offer support, improve the texture and taste. So many of you also talked earlier about there are still lots of challenges. But more important is understand in terms of what consumer wants through the Singapore very diverse demographic and also efficient system. So make it very affordable, accessible for startups that in a very short period of time to understand consumer perceptions, cost of productions, and also funding. Nurasa ourselves also an investor. Currently, we own 2 companies in the plant-based space, and they are all very active in Europe. And in the future focus, actually, we are very much looking in terms of how we help with the bioprocessing technology to commercialize the bioprocessing technology. That's why I'm here, to briefly introduce our system and also hope we can shorten the distance between Singapore and Australia and Victoria. Before Nurasa, actually, I worked in Kyrgyz, and I used to own a part of a business here. So I worked with Australian farmers, customers, and consumers in my previous career. Very happy to be back. Now let me talk a little bit about what the session works. So you can see the 4 innovators on the stage. Actually, they are representing 4 very innovative companies. So in the next few minutes, every 90 seconds, which is 1.5 minutes, each one of them will make a very short and powerful pitch to all of you. And then please show your support. And after that, we will have a short panel conversations. We'll follow them together. So the first I'd like to introduce will be Matthew. Matthew is the founder and CEO of Grainstone, a very interesting company. Matthew, please.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Matthew, founder of Grainstone. Many emerging major bioeconomy industry opportunities are constrained by unit economics, as we know. We believe Australia's second largest crop, barley, the champion of grains, provides the cheapest and best feedstock opportunities, but until now it's been quite overlooked. Each year our country puts most of it on ships to be simply used in brewing and stock feed overseas. Despite its proud history, including being consumed by the gladiators of ancient Rome, this low-input rotation crop will play an increasingly important role in a climate-impacted world, and it's able to grow in some of our most least fertile arable soils and resilient to volatile weather. Hang on, that slide advanced. Back a slide. Oh, losing time. So coupled with well-designed, integrated multi-product biorefining technology, provides the disruptive opportunity to maximise value, diversify risk and minimise waste, plus the scale to have real impact. Aligned with the National Reconstruction Fund, we are developing the Grainstone Australian Barley Biorefinery to produce the key products needed for an affordable, healthy and sustainable world. This includes food ingredients, super sugars for fermentation, bioplastics and bioenergy. Naturally, this also involves bringing barley protein concentrate online, which can be used in all of the alternative protein application opportunities you can imagine.
Sorry, Matthew, you will have translator. So the next is Dr. Nikki, and then Dr. Nikki, I met her around the world, and the company actually a few times. So Dr. Nikki, please share with us about your interesting innovation.
Thank you. So the problem is that we have a growing demand for protein. I think this is clear to everyone. If we continue to use conventional agriculture to meet these growing demands for protein, it will impact the climate and the environment significantly. So Daisy Lab offers a solution by using precision fermentation to create dairy-identical proteins without the cow. Our point of difference, or one point of difference, is we use existing dairy infrastructure and equipment to do this to save costs. To illustrate this, we've replaced the cow and the milk truck with a yeast strain and a fermenter. Our strains are built to be plug and play into traditional dairy downstream processing. So we then can save a significant amount on costs by utilizing existing dairy infrastructure. We get the same great protein out. It's identical on the amino acid level with far less impact. Those numbers are from the Perfect Day Impact Report Life Cycle Assessment, if you were in that session. We are seeking $4.5 million to build a 1,000-liter pilot scale plant. This will allow us to demonstrate scale, to establish IP and licensing with traditional dairy companies as our first step towards generating revenue. We are a fully female-founded company based out of New Zealand. We would love to talk to you more about investing, or if you just want to learn more about Daisy Lab, please get in touch with us after. 90 seconds is not enough.
Well done. Right on time. No worry, later after the session, you're more than welcome to join us in Victoria Street. So the third presenter actually is Nick Stamatiou from Whole Grain Foods. Welcome, Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Stamatiou, CEO and co-founder of Whole, and we create technology that maximizes nutrition and delivers the world's most sustainable ingredients. So some of you may know that 1/3 of the food produced in the world is never consumed. So it's clear to see that our food system is broken. And if you look at food production for the last 200 years, it's easy to see why, with massive amounts of wasted energy, water, and nutrition all along the value chain. So this didn't make sense to us, so we've created a unique processing technology that explodes ingredients at a cellular level. That creates tiny particles that are both highly functional and nutritious. We call this tech WINX, our whole ingredient nutrient extraction process. Now, WINX can be applied to almost any input ingredient and eliminates waste completely by turning it into a functional product. One of our most advanced applications is in relation to oats, where we currently produce the cleanest label functional oat milk in the world. With only 2 ingredients, oats and water, the WINX technology can replicate all of the functional properties of dairy whilst retaining the whole of the oat without waste. In terms of our team, we're a group with a history of working together and a proven track record of successfully commercializing technologies. We have an incredible mix of technical expertise, commercial savvy, and international experience that will see us succeed on the global stage. In order to accelerate the growth of our business, we're currently seeking courageous local partners that share our vision to eliminate waste and create more nutritious food, as well as strategic advisors that can help us to navigate our global expansion. Once again, my name is Nick Stamatiou from Whole, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Nick. The Kumar from Meatiply will be the last presenter before we enter into panel discussion.
Thanks, everyone. I'm from Meatiply. So Meatiply is a company based in Singapore, the first country in the world to grant approval way back in December 2020. So I'm an avid meat eater myself, and I get a pleasurable experience from eating meat, but every time I eat meat, there's this guilt that eats at me. So at Meatiply, we're trying to make cellular from cells. We're trying to make sure that we're able to bring this dream to reality. So we're very familiar with all these problems, too many people, too little resources. But while looking at the food ecosystem to fix, we realized that Meatiply can plug into so much more. There's so many different categories out here that we can plug our technologies into, and each of these are huge categories on its own. So we're very excited to see the impact that it can bring. So two things that our core technology can do: we have functional products, and we have high-value components that fit into these products. So what we do is we want to seek mutually beneficial relationships with partners, where we work with them to scale, bring new functional products to new markets that they've never reached before, new target markets, exciting times. And at the same time, we want to work with partners to de-risk these partners to invest in a very exciting technology. So all this is only possible with a fantastic team that we have here, very complementary, deep skill sets. We have founders that have very deep science knowledge, and we have a team that has food and nutrition background as well. So these are things we're looking for. So join me in revolutionizing this bloodless evolution of meat. Thank you.
While we're still organizing the stage, you can see there is a QR code on the screen. Please enter your questions and during our panel sessions, and then I will address your. And I will address your question from the question that you submitted through the QR code. But first, thank you very much for all your short and precise presentations. I know, Matthew, you had a little bit difficult start, so I will ask you first questions. When people talk about climate change, often a negative impact, but actually barley as a crop will benefit from it. At least I was told by some expert. And also, Australia barley has a very, very good reputation in the world in terms of the fine quality in the industry. So tell me about what kind of, the technology that you're talking about can benefit from these two positive factors?
Yes, it's an interesting sort of dichotomy that as we live on a more volatile, warming planet, that barley, given its characteristics and growth ability, will benefit really from that, while some of the other crops that are less resilient, less rugged, need more inputs, will actually start to fail. And Australia, given its, we're basically the world leader of barley production, stands to really benefit from that opportunity. We're producing around 14 million tonnes of it each year at the moment, and it's just a big global opportunity for us to lean into that sort of national competitive advantage rather than, and do the value add here in Australia with the latest and greatest in biorefining technology as part of a national collaboration that Grainstone has organised, rather than let other countries sort of lean into that opportunity that's sort of inevitable in our mind.
So you think your spent grain can also benefit from the reputations?
Yes, well, there's around 45 million tonnes of brewers' spent grain produced globally each year, and that's really where we started in brewing and finding our roots in that waste stream, that big byproduct from beer production that's not going away anytime soon in its own right as well. So we should be doing something better with that from a food systems perspective, and taking that into the highest value opportunities of food for consumption is way better than sending it to compost or landfill or waste to energy.
Oh, that's really nice. Nick, you mentioned about your technology focus on the licensings, right? But earlier you mentioned about oat, but not barleys. So why not barley?
No, it's funny. You mentioned that we're actually starting some work on barley. That wasn't even a prepared question.
I didn't prepare you, I know that.
We're starting to work with Bort Malt, who obviously does a lot of the malted barley, but during COVID, the CEO decided that they needed to diversify more into food and beverage. So we're about to kick off that exciting work, and we're looking at different sort of products, which is like malted barley milk and malted oat milk. So yeah, it's definitely on the list.
Yeah. Sorry, I ask you an unprepared question. So all of you know that I'm sorry, I've come from industry. I have you ask some very curious questions. And then in terms of your current technology, Nick, just continue to build on your early presentations. So what is the biggest challenge for you to expand your business as quick as you wish?
Yeah, I think it's the adoption of a new technology. So naively, I mean, most of my career I've spent in technology industries, but predominantly mining and oil and gas, and I thought they were quite slow industries until I came to the food industry, so I'd say that's definitely been the most frustrating part of it, but it's to be expected in a production environment. So we deal predominantly with either ingredient manufacturers or food and beverage companies. So it's natural that when you're wanting to introduce a brand new technology that they will have concerns, and it's a risk to their production environment. So we're looking at ways that we can accelerate that, and the sales funnel to go from initial powder samples that we send through to a multi-million-dollar capex decision to have the equipment installed in their facility.
Do you think the investor here will help you?
You never know. I think it's more strategic than just money. We've realised that we can't expect them to go from a powder to a huge capex decision. So typical with equipment manufacturers, we're starting to build smaller scale versions, pilot scale versions of our technology that will allow them to get confidence before they get to those big investment decisions.
Yeah, very good insight, actually. That is a challenge that we have seen cross-border. It is not a single question about how much money you need to raise in terms of how you convert a consumer become your customer. Yeah, that's really good. And Dr. Nikki, actually, as I said earlier, we run into each other around the world. Your business may not be yourself, but your business in different parts of the world. You have a very interesting philosophy, at least I heard from your team, is you try to leverage as much as current assets possible to scale your business. It sounds very rational, but is that really easy to execute?
So we like to say that we have done quite a lot with very little investment so far, and I really truly believe that. That could be because we're, female founders, and we're always looking for a bargain, but it's a painful place to be in, so it's a little bit by necessity. But we've done all of our equipment has been secondhand, like everything. Also, all of our business strategy is around using existing equipment, so that's a much more sustainable strategy. It's also a cost-effective strategy. One of our investors is a dairy cooperative in New Zealand, and that has been really great for us to work with them to see how our technology can plug and play into their equipment. And they've already offered to purchase, for the next round of funding that we're doing right now, to purchase the fermenters and everything. So that's another de-risk. But obviously, a lot of this is by necessity. There's a limited amount of funding, but I'm really proud of the fact that we've gone a long way with the amount of funding that we have. And it's part of now our story. But it's not an easy strategy, but it has worked for us. Yeah.
So, Dr. Nikki, what is so far, since your company has been established, how would you describe the success?
I think we've had a lot of success. We've been very lucky on many levels. We've hit all the milestones that we set out for ourselves. We've had some really fun ways of marking those milestones. I think success for us really comes with, we have our KPIs. We've hit all of the KPIs, so I'm proud of that. And we're sticking to our values. So our values are always around reduction in animal welfare and increased sustainability. So we've been able to do that on many different levels. So I think, staying true to your values is one measure of success, and keeping it economically viable at the same time is another. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Kumar?
Yes.
Cultivated meat, it's a popular subject, but also a lot of people have lots of questions about how viable it can be one day as a consumer to be able to afford and also believe that they will purchase the lab-grown meat, could be described in that way. So please tell us about, how you measure, how to say that, from your business expansion point of view, where are you focusing on to address some of those questions?
Thank you. I think, yes, cultivated meat is a very interesting field, but I think we are all aware here that it takes a long time to change consumer perception. At the same time, I think cost really needs to come down in this sector. We do want to bring it down, but it's going to take time, and I think most of us in this room realize that. So while working on that, I think we want to see new and innovative ways to bring some products to consumers so that they can relate this to cultivated. So I did mention that we are exploring other categories to branch into besides just food. So maybe a category that we are looking into is maybe cosmetics, example. So if there are cultivated technology in cosmetics to replace some high-value ingredients, consumers are associating this with something that they already use. So in the future, when we are able to bring it down to cost parity in food, they are like, okay, this is something I already use on my skin, example, or as an oral cosmeceutical or pharmaceutical. Yeah, so then it becomes a lot more, they become a lot more attuned to the idea of cultivated technologies in their life. So I think that's what we are trying to work on right now, to look at innovative strategies to bring this to consumers as soon as possible so they associate this.
So from then to support your vision and also the ambition to be successful, so here to the audience, what are you looking for in terms of their support?
Yes, I think for support-wise, we are looking to find partners that believe in the same ideology like us. I think there are industries out there that may need us, that don't know that they need cultivated technologies yet. So I think we want to tease this out and to figure out what your pain points are and to see if we can tackle that through our current technologies. It's going to be a tedious process for sure. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, but I'm pretty sure that our technologies can plug into some of the pains that you have, and we want to see a fruitful partnership emerge with all of these players in Australia and even beyond.
Thank you, Kumar. Now, Matthew, your solution technology sounds much more as a part of Australian food productions and consumers' mind already compared with Kumar's, right? So then how will you progress in terms of your technology solutions in terms of overall food system? What would you want in terms of support from this audience?
Yeah, sure. So I think by the deployment of the Australian barley biorefinery, it will provide a lot of, demand ballast for Australian farmers as well. There'll be a less sort of risk of geopolitical supply disruptions that we've seen over the past few years on the upstream side. On the downstream side, I think we can provide some of these backbone feedstock products to subsequent industries to use, including the maltose-based super sugars for fermentations, ethanol for large-scale bio-PET and sustainable aviation fuel opportunities, protein concentrate for a range of application opportunities. So we're trying to sit in a place where we don't work all the way down to consumer-facing products. Ultimately, there'll be a few products out there just as sort of demonstrators in the market, as we all already have some out there. But we're trying to find that right sort of sweet spot to operate as well.
Then how would you describe the success up to today?
How do we describe our success? I think I'm quite proud of the national collaboration we've achieved. We have discovered early on that there's no single researcher or research institution that has all of the capabilities and equipment that we needed. So we've sort of sought the best of Australia's best, evaluated options and brought the right people together. So yeah, really proud of that national collaboration to do something that's really in the national interest.
And what will be your next step?
Next step, so we're currently looking to do this quite reasonably large raise for this further sub-process development and a larger demonstration facility before this, quite large, or to enable us to achieve the bank finance we need for the larger Australian barley biorefinery and also lean into the National Reconstruction Fund that I mentioned.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nick. Licensing technology in the international expansion, sometimes many investors say they feel it's not comfortable. So please tell us about why you picked this strategic path.
A couple of reasons. So I'm a software engineer by training, so it was sort of born out of that, but more so it was the idea that you could scale it up without the need for massive capex investments. So we did have those options of whether to become an ingredient manufacturer ourselves, but that comes with a very different capex profile. So for the technology that we developed, we thought we'd get the maximum reach by adopting a licensing model and enabling others to effectively find ways of using it, if you like, and spreading across the globe.
When you're successful in terms of from the value chain perspective, who will benefit the most?
I'd love to say end consumers, but having dealt with food companies a lot in the last 4 years, I'm not so sure. But it's definitely the manufacturers themselves will realise significant cost savings. Cleaner label products, which inadvertently will benefit end consumers. The other side of what we do is really, by making things really small, you make them more bioavailable. So that's a whole stream of research that we're doing at the moment to increase the bioavailability of nutrition, and that's definitely the direction I'd like to push the company in.
Yeah, that's very nice. Actually, from a Nurasa's perspective, we think to accelerate the adoption of the consumer. Accelerate the adoption of the consumer for sustainable food need to come from first, if it's in Asia Pacific as a target market, first it need to be taste good or affordable, depends on the country. These two come first. And then nutrition value, and then sustainability probably far down even. And need to be said, where can I get it? Where can I find your product? So from this, let's say in terms of affordable, appealing, as means taste good, and also accessible. From your perspective, how would you rank that in terms of importance to your business success?
To our company?
Yes. Then I will just ask each one of you to give me a ranking.
We've always thought of ourselves as a nutrition company, so that's first and foremost for us. But it's been interesting. I mean, if I go into a sort of a new conversation with a company talking about nutrition, it's a much longer, more protracted experience. If I say it's zero waste technology, I can get a meeting within a week. So it's interesting to see the buy-in points from these customers, even if that's not the highest in terms of priorities for them and their customers.
So for you, nutrition value is number one. How about you, Dr. Nikki?
I think people are definitely more focused on getting more protein in their diet. So for us, that's a benefit. We're producing protein. From a taste perspective, actually, one of our primary proteins that we're making is whey protein, and that is actually, the goal is to make it very taste neutral. So if you've purchased, whey protein powder, it's actually, the goal is to have it be flavorless. So from a taste perspective, it's a little bit of a different story than other, than cultivated meat or something like that. But so we try to be sustainable. We try to have flavorless protein, but achieving all of these things. Where am I going with this? Yeah, so taste ranks up there, but it's a kind of a different story for us in terms of taste. It's not really tasty.
Yeah. So I need to slightly faster now to the answer. Seems we're slightly overrun.
Sure,
time.
no problem.
Kumar, how do you rank?
Definitely nutrition is up there for us. I think taste, we are almost there in terms of what we are doing right now. Cost, of course, far from it, but nutrition, I think that's where we can really play around with. If you're going to buy an expensive, high-value, functional food from me, you want it to be even better than what you're eating right now, right? Like if you're going to pay 10 times more for your chicken breast, you want it to be 10 times better. So I think that's why we're really focusing on. So one interesting thing is we were able to modulate chicken cells to take on omega-3 and omega-6 acids. So essentially it means that you do not need to consume fatty fish to get those. So those are things that we played around with earlier prototypes. Yeah. Nutrition.
Okay. Now I'm gonna answer the question raised through from the audience. Actually, two questions are going to Dr. Nikki. So first is can your product make a great animal-free cheese? And second is, can milk protein produced with precision fermentation technology be used without modification in conventional dairy processing machinery? So these two questions both to you.
Right. So the first question. So I think it was addressed earlier, I think, with Eden Brew. So Eden Brew is making casein. So casein is usually what people associate with making great cheese. And originally our company was started, our CEO is vegan. She was really interested to make a great tasting cheese that was animal-free. It does seem, we are still a new company, so it's a lot easier, as other people have mentioned, to make whey protein. That's definitely low-hanging fruit, so that's what we have focused on recently. We have yeast strains that also make casein, that make lactoferrin, that make other proteins found in milk. But right now what we're using is whey protein, which is not typically associated with making an amazing cheese. We have made some beautiful artisanal cheeses with our whey protein, but I think the stretchy cheese that people are associating is mostly with casein. So that's something that we have yeast strains that make those proteins, but we're not focused on those right now. And the second question was around?
Precision fermentation be used without modification in conventional dairy processing machinery.
Well, so that's something that we're looking for right now is we are looking to build a 1,000-liter pilot scale plant so that we can demonstrate our scaling and then also utilize at that scale downstream processing from the dairy companies. So we have, as I mentioned, a dairy company who's invested in us, and they have a small pilot scale downstream processing facility that we will use to demonstrate that we can actually really plug and play into traditional dairy infrastructure. From a theoretical perspective, we're making the same protein as found from a cow. So we've talked to our investor, and they seem to think it's very viable. And other, like Fonterra, which is one of the biggest dairy cooperatives in New Zealand, is also, they have their own precision fermentation making this. And I think a lot of dairy companies are now coming to the table with this, and I think it's very clear that it should be very feasible to use existing infrastructure. But to be transparent, we have not done that at scale or even pilot scale right now.
Last question will be very brief because it's an investor-related question. So what type of investor are you looking for? Is the investor must be mission-aligned or not?
For myself?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, strategic alignment or thematic alignment really does help, just start that conversation off on the right foot, no doubt about that. If they've got sort of some scientific nous, that also helps with, DD processes as well. I guess from our perspective, if they're an Australian investor, there's a preference there because of the National Reconstruction Fund alignment and requirements, really.
Okay, thank you. Nick?
Yeah, on our last round, we brought in Artesian Alternative Investments and the GRDC as our cornerstone investors, and so we're very happy with them and be happy to bring more money in from them. But on the next round, the Series A that we'll do next year, we're looking for groups that can bring us broader networks, so international networks and strategic networks to enable us that slow sales funnel that I mentioned. We're looking to shorten that significantly. So it's having those warm introductions that they can make into these big companies.
Okay.
I think very similar. We're looking for expertise in terms of dairy processing. We're looking for networking opportunities. We're looking for strategic partnerships. Obviously, it'd be great if they shared our values in terms of sustainability and animal welfare. All of the above, everything else, everyone else has mentioned as well.
I think same for myself. I think everything that everyone has mentioned. And in addition to that, we actually have a current mix of agri-food investors as well as general investors. I think it's good to have a mix as well because the advices we receive are different, and we do need some general level advice from investors as well. So I think it's a good mix to have, and we appreciate our investor community.
Thank you very much for your support, and thank you for all the panelists and also for your wonderful presentations. Good luck to all of you.